Winifred.
Yes?
My name is Winifred Holland. I'm speaking on behalf of Captain Garland. I'm wondering if there have been any replies to our insertion. Box number 2246.
No, I'm sorry, Miss Holland. I'm afraid there have been no replies. Would you like to renew?
No, thanks anyway. Bye.
Goodbye.
Aren't you going to finish your breakfast, dear?
Oh, no, thanks, Mummy. I'm not hungry.
Well, at least drink your coffee.
I don't want to be late. My boss is due back this morning.
Oh, congratulations. Perhaps I'll have the pleasure of meeting him sometime.
He is very busy.
Have you asked him?
Not yet. I don't think he likes company.
I'm quite sure he doesn't.
Sorry, I must dash.
Oh, just a minute, Winifred.
Not now. Please.
Golden Island. Introductory points. Where is it? What is it? The natives of North Borneo talk of Terua Katarua, the island of the ship of gold. This is an important clue. This is an important clue. We know that a Spanish ship laden with bullion, a ship called the Golden Bird, disappeared mysteriously in the area of the Andaman Sea somewhere about 1572. Is there a connection? It's a riddle this book will try to solve. Our starting point will be in
South India, where the Golden Bird commenced her last fatal journey. Then we shall try and retrace her steps, and of course what happened to the missing bullion. Hello, Miss Holland. Hard at it.
Just trying to retype those notes you wanted. How's Paris?
Oh, I prefer Trincomalee. Must be getting old. No messages?
No, afraid not, Bill. That ad of ours was a bit of a fraud.
Nobody loves me. Well, my publisher does. He's given me a £500 advance.
Oh, that's marvellous. They like the title, Riddle of the Golden Bird.
They've given me carte blanche. Dupre thinks it'll be the best thing I've ever done.
I think he's right. That stuff I've typed's been fascinating.
You're biased, Olga. Hey, what's this?
I had a bit of time on my hands, so
Now, you listen to me, young lady. Our arrangement was secretarial duties only, and that does not include washing and ironing shirts.
You could put it on my wages.
I intend to. You know, we bachelors have the right to live untidy lives. We insist on it. 5, 10, 15, 20, 1 week's wages, and this is for the laundry. Charlie, from the Lower Zambezi.
Charlie, did you say?
No, why not?
Oh, I would have thought even in the Lower Zambezi.
Oh, no, they have a highly developed sense of humor. As a matter of fact, it's a fertility goddess, Chingwala Marula. May 1,000 children bless your heart, Miss Holland. You like it?
Fascinating. I'll tell you this, Captain Bill Garland. I bet she's the only one in Mersham.
Winifred's a very well-to-do girl. If there's one thing my late husband did do, he left her well provided for. I'm convinced this man Garland knows it.
How did they come to meet, Mrs. Holland?
The Exploration Society. That's her latest fad. Last year it was the Bacon Society. Some scruffy little insurance clerk. Thank goodness this one doesn't have dandruff, but I'm sure he thinks he's God's gift to women.
I'm afraid there are one or two about, Mrs. Holland.
I don't think that's at all funny, young lady.
Superintendent Proud must have pointed out that our particular concern is fraud. Now, when he told us to come
Garland
here
is a fraud. What do you imagine all this balderdash is about a golden island?
Well, he is a writer, Mrs.
And
Holland.
that covers a multitude of sins. He calls himself Captain Garland. He's not in the army or the navy list.
There could be a simple explanation.
There is. The man's a liar.
Which is not, regrettably, a breach of criminal law. I'm sorry, Mrs. Holland, but I'm sure Superintendent Proud does appreciate your natural anxiety, but unless you have some evidence, I'm afraid there's nothing we can...
If his name really is Captain Garland, then he's dead. Shot 4 years ago.
She's beautiful, Bill.
What's that, old girl?
The Philippa. She's really elegant.
Yes, nippy too. Twin berths, streamlined. Here, have your coffee. She's in Singapore at the moment. having something done to her engines. Take her across to Mangalore, then down to Trivandrum, across to Ceylon, due east to the Nicobar's, restock and refuel at Kutarata, and north-northeast to the Andaman.
Don't, you're making me jealous.
That's just the easy part, old girl. After that, it's all guesswork. All these tiny islands, trying to pick up a clue. I could drift around those seas through all eternity.
What's the matter with that? You make it sound more fascinating every minute. Like a dream.
You can't pay the grocer with dreams.
Oh, piddle.
Steady on, old girl.
Oh, no, well, I'm serious, Bill. There are too many grocers. We've become a nation of grocers. Do you know that my father spent the whole of his life making houses for grocers all over the Midlands? And when he died, he'd not only never seen a foreign country, he'd never even seen the sea.
You think you're like him, Winifred?
Me? Oh, I don't know what I'm like. I sometimes think I'll end up walking up and down the high street carrying old paper parcels.
Can't quite see that happening to you.
Oh, all right for you, sunbathing neath some tropic sky.
If that's all you're missing, it could be all right for you, too. For a few months, anyway.
It what? What do you mean? Look, you're not suggesting...
Oh, the Philippa House 2 cabins, if it's the proprietors you're worried about.
Just a minute, you're not...
Look, all this Golden Bird business is not just collecting material for a new book. I've written enough already. No, it's more than that. I want to find this island. And if there's any gold on it, I want to find that, too. I've been dreaming about it, thinking about it for years. Well, now I'm jolly well going to do it.
Well, you don't need me for that, Bill.
You can type. And I need luck. Hell of a lot of luck.
Speculation continues about the identity of the man said to have been shot by Soviet border guards last week. Brigadier Randolph Wildblood told our reporter that the man was a Captain William Garland, writer of travel and adventure books. Quote, Bill and my friend, Countess Tamara Grishko, were trying to get her family jewels back from her home. The poor chap came a cropper. Korean Courier, September 66. Correct?
Oh, dear. Yes, well,
I hope you'll be able to elaborate on that, Brigadier Wildblood.
well, I'm not sure that I can.
You have some personal objection?
No, not me, old boy. Nothing to do with me. It's the kith and kin I'm thinking of.
The captain's?
So the old girl, Lady Grishka.
You're referring to the Countess?
Bursting into Soviet territory after her jewels. Bit naughty, you know, illegal entry. Don't want the Bolsheviki bursting in on their white chargers, what?
I think we can contrive to avoid that, Brigadier. Now, if we can perhaps get back to this chap Garland.
Who?
The mystery man shot by Soviet guards. He is dead, I take it.
Had to be 6303s in the chest.
But you didn't see that, of course.
Not my show, old boy. To the Countess's rubies, she ran the whole shebang. I really don't see much point in raking up old wounds, Gamble. I mean, one would be inclined to let sleeping bow-wows lie. Don't you agree?
Yeah, possibly, Brigadier, but my superintendent wouldn't. Now, regarding those rubies, do you know where they are?
In Barabilsk.
In what?
In the potting shed where the Countess's family left them after the revolution. Now, look for the last time, old boy.
Just a moment, Brigadier. I think perhaps you ought to take some notes, Sergeant.
That means this gammy peg of mine, I might have been right up there alongside him. Trouble is, I'm useless on skis.
War wound, Brigadier?
Now, Lady Jennifer rolled on top of me. Ever had a polo pony break your leg in 3 places, Gamble?
Not as far as I can recall, sir. Now, you were saying that it was Captain Garland's suggestion to retrieve the Countess's jewels from her former estates in Russia.
Was that?
Do you mind, Sergeant?
I first met Countess Grishko in Paris. She visited my house often. Sometime later, the Mem, my wife that is, met Captain Garland at a lunch in London and asked him to spend a weekend with us. He heard about Countess Grishko's possessions and formulated a plan to receive them.
Retrieve them, old girl. Don could plan too. Boat up from Nikolaevsk, up the Armour to Sretansk, meet the Countess's kinsfolk at Kayakta, skis from there. Dicey, of course, but feasible.
And fallible, apparently.
I didn't budget for treachery, old boy. The boat was there all right, but so were the gendarmes. Ping, ping. Poor old Tamara got away in the nick of time.
But not the captain.
Outnumbered, old boy. Not short of moral fibre, old Bill. On the contrary, take on anything. Cost him his life.
Yes, and what did it cost the Countess?
What's all this about? Me?
I'm Detective Inspector Gamble. This is Detective Sergeant Hicks.
Oh. Well, if it's about that blasted fine...
No, no, sweetie, not to worry. It's about poor old Bill.
Bill? Bill who?
Bill Garland.
Listen, Phil.
Your husband told me that you met him at a lunch in London. Do you recall where?
At the Exploration Society. So what? He's not in any trouble, is he?
Hardly, in light of what the Brigadier's just told me. Well, there's no need to keep you any longer. Thank you very much for all your help. Phil, would that be Phyllis?
No, it wouldn't. It would be Philippa. Now, what the hell is all this kerfuffle about?
Oh, cross lines, Mrs. Wildblood. The chap we're checking on isn't interested in Russian rubies. He's concerned with islands. Golden islands. Good day.
Bill dead? Had never so much as called me mother.
General Finch Boulevard.
Ah, good evening, General. I'm Detective Sergeant Hicks.
No, that's the General, Miss Hicks. I'm just a commoner garden civilian. Name of Willis. I'm the Secretary of the Exploration Society. I believe you've got some questions to ask me.
Yes. I'm sorry. Tarua Katarua.
Pardon?
Golden Island. Perhaps we could start with that.
I suppose the nearest equivalent is El Dorado, the city of gold. Only fools and lunatics believed that existed. Nevertheless, the conquistadores thought they did. They went looking for it in their hundreds. And died. Many a bold mariner did the same. With me, it's this blasted island. I got the bug about 4 years ago. Traipsing around from Dar es Salaam to Palembang. Chasing every rumor. Anything about the Golden Bird. Who served in her? Who were officers? Damn it, I even know what the ship's cat had for breakfast. Am I boring you, Elgin?
Did you hear a low-pitched bang?
Did I what?
I always ring off when I'm bored. Bill, what did you do before, Terua?
I got involved in a piece of nonsense in a place in Russia. Barabinsk.
Barabinsk. Barabinsk, yes, that does ring a bell. Sofia, Mongolia.
Correct.
Ah, yes, we had one of our members go there, a writer fellow, name of Garland.
Oh, he actually went.
Did you not know that?
Well, I had read something. I just wasn't sure how true it was.
It was a bit wild, but it's true enough. I had it from the old lady herself.
The Countess?
Dotty old bird. Yeah, but she wouldn't lie. I mean, she verified the whole thing.
Would you, by any chance, have her present address?
Her present address? Well, it's either up there or down there.
I'm not quite sure I follow.
I very much hope you don't, Miss Hicks. She's been dead these 10 years.
Just a minute. When exactly did this thing take place, this raid on Barabinsk?
Well, the one I am talking about took place 50 years ago.
And that's as far as we've got, sir. Look, it's quite obvious that we're dealing with a con man.
It is it? Not to me, Gamble. It isn't obvious to me at all.
Look, sir, the actual attempt to retrieve the Countess's jewels took place 50 years ago. Now, the actual Countess left no living relatives. Therefore, whatever happened 4 years ago, it wasn't the actual Countess who was involved, nor was it the actual Garland.
Actually, I thought you said it was something to do with the actual Miss Holland. Some treasure island?
Yes, well, they are linked, you see. This is the way
I have a slow, lumbering mind. I don't like overtaxing it. This case was referred to us by Mrs. Holland, who has some considerable standing in this community. She also plays bridge with Mrs. Proud. Now, she claims that this man Garland is a fraud, right?
Yes, sir. Now,
Just tell me. Who is conning who, for how much, and for what?
Exactly, sir. Look, it's quite obvious that Brigadier Wildblood is lying. Now, why, I've no idea. Now, why should he cover up for a man who might have swindled him? Now, the problem is this.
I know the problem, Gamble. This man is a crude confidence trickster, and you don't have a thing on him. That is a reasonable assessment of the situation, is it not?
I didn't say he was crude, sir. I think he's subtle. Very subtle indeed.
Not all beer and skittles, Elgo. One gets lonely. sick of one's own thoughts. I suppose if there is any aspect of my hithering and thithering that I regret, it's probably that.
Fibber. I bet you've got a girl in every port.
Not guilty, old girl. Hey, what are you doing?
I bet you've got I Love Mary tattooed all over
Mary,
your
I
arm.
don't know the lass. I know the Queen Mary. Now, you listen to me, young lady. I won't have insubordination below decks. Milkman's early.
Captain Garland, my name is Yvonne Schenk. I wonder if you have a minute or two to spare.
You what about?
About your classified advertisement in the London Times. My late husband acquired some letters in Ceylon which I think will interest you. Oh, excuse me, Mrs. Garland.
No. This is Miss Holland, a friend of mine.
Oh, if it's inconvenient,
No. Please come and sit down. No, Miss Holland is as interested in the documents as I am myself. You say you have some documents?
At my hotel, they contain information about the location of a certain island.
And you don't object if I have a deco,
On the contrary, Captain, you can have them for your very own. If you have £5,000. Cash?
Central branch? Mr. Ferguson, please. Mr. Ferguson, this is Miss Holland. No, Miss. Winifred. Ah, very well. And you? I wonder if I might pop over and see you for a moment about cashing a cheque for 5,000. Yes, I suppose it is rather large. I'd rather not discuss it on the phone. I'll explain when I see you. Goodbye.
There's a young lady downstairs. She'd like to have a word with you. She's a policewoman.
Look here, Gamble. I thought we'd reached a mutual understanding.
About what?
Powwows. Disinterring dead matter. Raking over cold ashes.
It's your old friend Garland who's doing the disinterring. He's dead, but he insists on not lying down.
I really do assure you, Gamble.
Regretfully, you don't, Brigadier. You don't assure me at all.
You're not calling me a barefaced liar, are you?
Barefaced, sir? Yes, I suppose I am.
Oh, dear, oh, dear. Locks of mercy. What is it the poet chappie says?
If you're referring to Sir Walter Scott, sir, he says, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave, when first we practice to deceive."
Scott, eh? Not the explorer.
I really don't understand, Miss Hicks, what it is that you're accusing Captain Garland of.
I have explained, Miss Holland. This is a purely routine inquiry.
Criminal, he's a writer.
There are just one or two questions I'd like to ask about this £5,000.
It was just a loan.
I am on your side, Miss Holland.
Are you? How?
I'm sorry, but I do need some information.
Then ask him, not me. He's not a crook, you know he's not.
I hope he's not, Miss Holland, but there is a possibility.
Champers, oh boy. Deuce of the grape. That started it. If I hadn't the drink taken, I wouldn't have meandered into the Blue Pyramid at Montmartre. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have encountered her.
The Countess?
Yeah. If I hadn't invited her back here, and if the dear old ma'am hadn't bumped into Garland, and if Garland hadn't listened to the Countess's tale of woe and suggested ways and means of recovering her jewels from the Bolsheviki, etc., etc., well, all I can say is... Where were we, old boy?
All you can say is...
Oh, I'd be 10,000 quid better off, what?
Your contribution to the expedition.
Cost of finding out that one devious writer was a thoroughgoing out-and-outer old boy. Damnable liar, to be crude.
And when did the scales drop from your eyes, Brigadier?
Courier, military club, officers for the use of. Decided to find out about Garland's operational plan from a chap I know, Finch Bolivar, son of, who reckoned to be a whiz-bang at all things Russian.
And what happened? He found flaws?
Au contraire. Passed the damn thing as perfect. Trouble is, he recalled reading all about it in one of Garland's own books.
Are you sure?
Naturally, things began to whir in the old brain box. 2 and 2 began to make 6. By the time I got back to base, the dicky birds had flown. I felt it a blithering idiot.
And is that why you didn't go to the police?
Fair dues gamble hardly helped to announce my involvement into an illegal raid into Rusky land, what? Might rock the political boat a bit, huh?
Except that it didn't happen.
Huh?
The real raid into Barabin's took place in 1921. Your invitation was a non-starter.
Not following, old boy.
Not trying, old boy. Look, I want to know why you didn't report this matter to the police. And I want to know why you lied to me about Garland's obituary.
That's pitching it a bit strong, don't you think?
Not as strong as taking £10,000 out of your pocket. He did take it, didn't he?
Not from me, old boy, from the ma'am.
From your wife?
She was holding the kitty. When I got back, she'd run off with him.
And it was you who was responsible for this obituary?
No alternative, old chap. People were talking, had to put pay to the gossip. That's the devil of it, old chap. Poor old man. Temporary madness. All back together again, but couldn't prosecute in the circus, you do see that. Prefer to put the blame on Shamblers. Juice the grape. Don't you agree?
Not altogether, Brigadier. If you hadn't met the Countess in the Blue Pyramid, I have no doubt you would have bumped into her somewhere else.
Hello. Is that the luscious and delectable Miss Holland? Hello? Who is that?
My name is Agnes Holland, the delectable Winifred's mother. If that's the fascinating Captain Garland, I think you'll find my daughter would prefer it if you didn't ring again.
Wakey, wakey, Mrs. Shank. All hands on deck.
Go away.
Come on, move it, sweetie. I think I've heard a discouraging word.
What are you talking about? What word?
Police?
Good-looking woman. What is she, dancer?
Oh, a bit of everything, I imagine, sir. She called herself Annette Blanchard. She probably changes her name with her job.
Well, what does that give us?
A starting point, sir. Her last address was Rue Madeleine, and Garland's publishers are supposed to be in Paris too, so I think we can safely assume that it's all happening over there, sir.
Can we? Seem to be assuming rather a lot of things.
Well, at least we do know the name of the game. A lot of lost treasure in exotic places, and a lot of people willing to pay good money to look for it. Including Miss Holland, whose mother...
Mother plays bridge with my wife. As a matter, I hadn't overlooked gamble. You spoke to Miss Holland?
Well, I didn't actually make any
Yeah, but she
accusation.
got the message.
Oh, yes, very loud and clear.
Well, the main thing is, sir, she's agreed to cooperate, stall with that money, which will give us a chance to sniff around, maybe come up with something.
Such as paying for your trip to Paris?
Well, we have to take the rough with the smooth, sir.
Do we?
Well, I mean, Garland could have been operating somewhere really wild, like Wolverhampton.
All right, Gamble, you've made your point. If you can send me a postcard. I take it that you won't be needing Sergeant Hicks along to look after you.
I'm afraid not, sir. She'll be too busy.
Oh, where's she going to? Rome or the Bahamas?
To the Central Library, sir, to read all of Captain Garland's books.
Going somewhere, Mrs. Shank?
Buenos Aires. Want a lift?
Prefer a cup of tea and a jam sandwich.
Suit yourself, Captain.
What's the matter, partner? You've lost faith in me?
I have more faith in the police.
Odd. It's the reverse with me.
Oh, don't be a fool, Bill. You said yourself they were nosing around. You're getting too big-headed. They're not stupid, you know.
Neither am I. I've never put a foot wrong yet, and this time is going to be no exception.
No, we've had this deal. It's gone sour on us. We can't win.
Then why don't you give me a little kiss? For all that we've suffered together.
No, I'm serious, Bill. Let's blow. While we still have the time.
Oh, God. You're crazy. What are you doing?
Buenos Aires wouldn't get you to Birmingham.
Give me that, it's mine.
Later, Mrs. Schenk. Plus a substantial bonus. Please always make the same mistake.
They underestimate your greediness.
No, sweetie pie. They underestimate the power of love.
Isn't it time you snapped out of it, Winifred? You're not 15, you know. You're 35. Oh, come on, dear. It's not as bad as all that. Life goes on. Let's not quarrel, not about a rotter like that. Look, why don't you let me take you out for a meal? We could go on to a cinema. I had to do what I did. You know that's true.
Why didn't you remarry, Mummy?
Why don't I? What?
You're still a very attractive woman. Much more attractive than I am.
I'm perfectly happy as I am, thank you very much.
I shouldn't have thought so. In fact, I know you're not.
Just a minute, young lady. Where do you think you're going?
I am not young. You've just said so. I'm old enough to take my own decisions.
Winifred. My dear girl, I wasn't expecting you.
I suppose you must have given me up for dead.
I rang your home. Your mother answered.
I know. It's been one of those days. Could I make myself some coffee?
You sit right down here. I'll do the honors.
Put that in the safe place, hadn't I?
What is it?
The money. The £5,000. I had a bit of an argy-bargy with the bank manager, but I finally convinced him.
Oh, didn't your mother give you my message? You mean you went to all that trouble for nothing?
Don't tell me you don't want it anymore.
Oh. I want it all right. But Mrs. Schenk doesn't. I'm afraid that little lady was a great deal more predatory than we anticipated.
She wants more.
A lot more. When I told her that she was talking to a poor mariner, she suggested that I beg, borrow, or steal it.
And that's why you rang me. To ask for more money.
No. I rang to tell you to forget the whole business. I've got some biscuits here. Let's make things of ourselves. No, I'm afraid all our little plans were gang agley. That little lady knows what she's got hold of. And she wants her pound of flesh. In the end, I lost my temper. I told her to go to the devil.
Is that why you're going away?
What?
Do your moonlight flit?
Winifred, that was something else that I wanted to talk to you about.
When are you going?
Tonight, tomorrow morning at the latest. See, that letter changed everything. I've got to find that island. The quicker I get away, the sooner I get back.
Back? Why are you coming back?
To see you, Olga.
I'm not coming back, Bill. And you're not going away. You're running away from the police.
Ah, it's rather a wild surmise.
A detective came to see me this morning. She asked me a lot of questions.
About me?
About everything.
Well, what did you tell her? Well, answer me, Winifred.
Take the money, Bill, and go away.
Winifred, you haven't answered me. Do you think I'm a crook?
Sailors tell stories, Bill. Yours are more exciting than most. You can be most convincing. I think I'd better go. Here, buy yourself some nonsense.
I don't run away from the police. I don't have to. I've done nothing to run away from. They can come and see me any time they like. Take your money, Winifred. I've no interest in it. And as for the non-existent documents, I don't have to buy them. I've already got them. I offered Mrs. Schenk a deal. 50% of anything that I might find.
She trusted you too.
No, she didn't. She insisted that she come with me. I'm sorry.
You don't have to be. I'm sure she's your type. You'll be very happy together.
Oh, will you?
Leave me alone.
Please, take your money. And here. Here, take this.
I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with you.
I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry.
Truly? You don't even know what the word means.
That is a very mixed-up young lady.
She'd have been more mixed up if she'd come into the bedroom.
Little darling, if she was going to do that, she would have done it 20 years ago.
My dearest Winifred, as a writer, I should be able to put down the simple words I've been unable to say to you. But I can't. I just don't have the right to. Maybe someday I will. But in the meantime, I want you to know that you are very dear to me. I've done a lot of things in my life which I've had cause to regret. But wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, when you read this, please believe me. The happiest times I've spent have been with you. Those I shall neither regret nor forget. Yours, Bill.
Sure, Jenny. There must be. He's a well-known writer. Well, would you have another look for me? Okay. Listen, what are you doing tonight? Oh, isn't that the one with Robert Redford? Oh, yes, I fancy him. Like, listen, I'll call you back, okay? Hello, welcome back.
Personal cause on duty, Sergeant?
No, well, that was Miss Phillips, librarian. She's trying to find one of Garland's books. According to her, they've been out of print for years.
Oh, really?
Whatever he's living on, it's not from his literary efforts.
I think you're wrong, Sergeant. Read that.
Voyages and Adventures by Captain W. Garland. Did you get this in Paris?
A gift from his publishers. Rattling good stuff. A grand yarn about a search for Aztec treasure, and another equally gripping one about a raid into a place called Barabinsk.
This?
Yes, the last chapter that's the most fascinating. Here we are. Rio, 1945. As I pen these words, my most longed-for expedition is still to be carried out. The discovery of the lost island of Terua. Wait for it, Sergeant. Somewhere a map exists, and I think I know where to find it. If I succeed, I will undertake a journey which could, with the help of benevolent providence, lead me to a priceless store of gold. I am an old man now, 75.
70?
But I am not finished yet. For years I have been sorely tried by an affliction for which I fear there is no cure.
Is that a reference to me, Gamble?
No, sir, just a book I picked up on the Reeve Gauche.
Where?
Garland's publisher, sir. They think very highly of him, and so they should, because according to that, he must be 100 years old this year.
You mean our chap's using this fellow's name?
And all his stories for the basis for his ingenious fiddles, which I think puts us in a position, sir, to pay him a centenary tribute.
Well, according to Mrs. Holland, who was on the phone not 10 minutes ago, her daughter Winifred's already done that.
Oh, no, she hasn't paid the £5,000, has she?
No, she didn't say anything about the 5,000, Sergeant. The sum she mentioned was 10 times that amount. No question about it. This sketch shows that we've got to go down to the Maldives and then set a course between the Seychelles and the Chagos Archipelago. We can tie up at Diego Garcia.
No, we can't.
Well, why not?
Because we haven't finished breakfast.
Yeah.
Come on, Bill. Come down from that crow's nest. Or wherever it is that you are. And keep me company. Anyway, I wanted to look through a catalogue for me.
Well, what catalogue's that, Win?
Tropical kit. Sailing, I don't know the difference between a parka and sandwich.
My dear girl, when you've been on the Indian Ocean for 6 weeks, you'll be a different woman.
I'm a different woman now. Isn't that obvious?
I don't see any change.
Ah, there is, Bill. I'm happy.
Ah, you old girl.
You've never let me be anything else.
She's behaving as though she's hypnotized. I've hardly seen her the past 4 days. She seems to spend every minute of her time with that man going over those plans. She's like a starstruck schoolgirl, full of romantic ideas.
Mrs. Holland, let's talk about the £50,000.
That's next Thursday. Yes, what time's the plane? Midnight. Heathrow? I'll call in later this morning and collect the ticket.
Captain Garland. I'm Detective Inspector Gamble. This is Detective Sergeant Hicks. May we have a word with you, please?
Certainly, but the name is Muncer. Bill Muncer. Garland's a sort of a nom de guerre. Oh, I'll get some coffee on, grab a few.
He's also the writer of adventure stories who lives in Rio.
Lived? Surely, old boy. He must be dead by now. He was on his last legs when I met him. Some incurable disease.
Oh, what disease was that?
Elbow bending, old boy. Booze. Couldn't get off it. Poor old William. We had many a long talk. Fascinating old chap. Been everywhere, done everything. Yes, he was always in search of some treasure. He insisted that I took over where he left off.
And did he also insist that you take his name?
Oh, mark of respect, old boy. I'm a bit of a sentimentalist. But surely that's not what you've come to see me about, is it? There's no breach of the law there, I mean.
It could be, Captain. Particularly if the deception was used to obtain money, then it would be a serious breach of the law.
Fortunately, that lets me out. Oh, I've sailed close to the wind, but I've never fallen foul of the legal code. Too much regard for it, old boy. Why, you have no reason to think otherwise, have you?
Actually, we have. 50,000 reasons, to be precise.
What?
The 50,000 that Miss Winifred Holland gave you.
Oh, dear, so the cat's out of the bag, is it?
Is that a confession, Captain?
What?
I think perhaps my sergeant ought to take some notes.
Well, I prefer she didn't. That transaction was supposed to be secret.
I thought it might be.
You see, Miss Holland and I were off on this expedition, and it wouldn't suit our book if too many people knew about it.
Including, I think, the assize court judge.
Eh?
You ventured on various of these expeditions, Captain Garland, all of which, I have no doubt, have come to naught.
Searching for treasure is a very speculative business. Big rewards. One must anticipate a certain number of false starts.
100%, in fact. And what happened to the money? In an old sea chest somewhere?
Spent it, O'Boy.
On what? A baccy for the old pipe?
Oh, you'll be surprised how quickly money goes.
Well, it doesn't matter. We can always get a search warrant, and if that fails, we can always have a chat to Miss Holland.
You could, but I don't think it'd do any good. You see, she's completely committed to this Tarua project. She is heartwarmingly loyal.
Well, she won't be when I've talked to her and shown her this.
Oh, dear. I say you wouldn't do that, would you? This is an old girlfriend of mine. Not very sporting, huh?
I'm not the sporting type.
Oh, no, I didn't think that you were. Neither am I. Will you excuse me? Shake a leg, old girl. I say, are you decent? A couple of friends have just called in. Best get the agony over with, huh? Come on, sweetheart. This is Inspector Gamble, Detective Sergeant Hicks.
Yes, we've met.
Yes, they want to talk to us about this little Tiswas.
Oh, no, Bill, must I?
Well, I think better, my dear. They seem to be implying that I swindled you out of some spondulics.
Swindled me?
Well, you paid Captain Garland £50,000. We'd like to know what for.
Paid him, Mr. Gamble. I didn't pay him. I gave it to him. I'll give him another 50,000 if I want to. Why not? He's my husband.
It's disgraceful. You didn't even have the courage to tell me. How could you do such a thing? A man you were warned against, a man you don't even know.
I know that I love him, Mummy. Isn't that enough for you?
Love, as if that's the only thing in the world that matters. What about your dignity, your self-respect?
Just a minute, Mrs. Holland, if you'll allow me.
She's as much a criminal as he is. She ought to be locked up.
Do you mind, Mrs.
Yes,
Holland?
I do mind. I mind very much. I wish the earth would open and swallow me up.
What happened to the 50,000?
I don't have to answer your questions, Mr. Gamble. Bill told me.
No, you don't. He's right.
We paid it to a Mrs. Schenk. She has some documents we need for the expedition.
Is this the woman?
It might be.
Well, is it or isn't it?
Look, Mr. Gamble, you've got things wrong. Bill is a kind, generous man. I'm not interested in his past.
May we see those letters?
If you think he's a criminal, why don't you arrest him instead of threatening and bullying?
Yes, I think we will.
You have no evidence against him. The sergeant told me so herself.
We would have if you'd kept your promise, Miss Holland.
The name is Muncer, Mrs. Muncer, and I didn't promise you anything. If I had, it would have made no difference. I offered Bill £5,000. He wouldn't take it.
And he got 50,000 instead. All right, Sergeant?
Just a minute. I see you have an airline ticket there.
Yes, it's for Singapore. We're going there next week.
Oh, Captain Garland appears to be leaving on Thursday, in 2 days' time.
What about it? I have some things to clear up. I'm meeting him at his boat.
If he's there.
He has to be Mr. Gamble. I'm taking him these documents.
Hasn't it occurred to you that those documents might be forgeries?
Why must you always see evil in everything? Can't you accept that Bill is capable of an honest, generous act?
It's very difficult, Miss Holland.
These letters were bought from a Mr. N. Banerjee, Canal Road, Colombo. I checked. I think you should, too.
And that's the only plane, is it? Right. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Well, there's no plane from Heathrow on Thursday at midnight to Singapore. The only plane at that time is for Mexico.
Well, that's where he's going, isn't it?
And with your blessing, according to this report, Gamble.
Well, I suppose we could always post a sniper at the airport and pick him off as he comes in.
Yes, we could. Or we could admit that they've been completely and totally outflanked.
Look, we haven't...
Outflanked, Gamble. Made to look like idiots. £50,000 for some forged documents, and all we can do is to say bon voyage.
But I don't think those documents are forged, sir.
What?
Well, they are mentioned in Garland's book. Look, I imagine that monks have picked up those somewhere, found they were valueless, and then tried to sell them at a profit. Now, he wouldn't make the mistake of trying to flog forgeries.
Oh, you think it's against his principles, do you?
I think it's against his principles to make petty slips.
Now, you wouldn't consider it unwarranted interference on my part if I suggested that you check with Colombo?
I already have, sir. Commander Mozzier of the Ceylon Police. I've wired him to check on those letters at the address that Miss Holland gave us. I'm awaiting the reply. But I'm fairly certain, sir, that those letters are genuine.
Then why check?
Because Miss Holland suggested it. And I'm wondering why.
Well, of course he was fanciable, otherwise I shouldn't have flipped my lid. Either that or the idea of swanning around under a tropic moon. I'm afraid you're too young to understand things like that, Sergeant.
I do read books. What I don't understand is why it didn't happen, why you came back.
Well, that's not terribly flattering to the Brigadier, is it?
Today is Thursday. I haven't time for flattery. I need the truth.
Well, the truth is, I'm a Puritan. I have a husband. The idea of getting on that boat...
Yes, but you did. He even named it after you, the Philippa.
What is this? Are you threatening to tell the Brigadier?
I want to know what went wrong. He tricked your husband. How did he trick you?
Oh, he didn't trick me. He loved me. He was potty about me. He even asked to marry me.
Well, then why didn't you? You go off with a man you say fancied you. You have all sorts of dreams about a big romantic adventure. Then in less than a week, you're back. Why? Where was the con? Another woman?
There was no other woman.
Except the Countess. Look, Mrs. Wildblood, this is important.
For you, sweetie. For me, it's long gone.
No, not for me. For a very inexperienced girl called Winifred Holland.
Then she must get out of it, like I did.
Oh, it's not quite so easy for her. You see, she married him.
Well, that's too damn bad, isn't it?
It all depends on what sort of a woman you are, Mrs. Wildblood.
Listen, why are you on my back? It's obvious you know damn well why I came back.
I have a pretty good idea, but I want to hear you say it.
This girl is Winifred, whatever her name is. She must be out of her tiny mind.
Are these all your shirt, Bill?
All I need, girl. Oh, yeah, let me do that.
Are you sure you wouldn't like me to run you down to the station?
No need. The taxi will be here in a minute.
I'll miss you, Bill.
It's only for a week.
It's not a week. It's 600,000 seconds. It's all right for you.
That's where you're wrong, old girl. It isn't.
Yes. Yes, Commander. N. Banerjee. What, he gave you the name of the buyer? Buyers, was it?
It's not.
Yes? Yes, I've got that. You will send confirmation, won't you? Yeah. Right. Well, I'll do the same for you sometime. Goodbye.
Look, about Mrs. Wildblood.
Fantastic.
What is?
Well, you can hear all that way, to Ceylon. Do you think the telephone's here to stay, Sergeant?
I wouldn't know, but I do know why Mrs. Wildblood came shooting home to the Brigadier. You see, the Countess...
Yes, I do see, Sergeant. Commander Mozzier has just told me.
Oh.
Don't hang about, Sergeant. You've just got time to get down to the station.
Train now standing at platform 11 is the 6:15 for London Euston, calling at Nuneaton, Bletchley and Leighton Buzzard.
Hello, Countess. Not left yet. I'm sorry. You are the well-known Countess Grishko of Barabinsk.
My name is Yvonne Schenk. I'm waiting for a friend.
What are you doing? I'm going to help you find him. Oh, it's all right. I'm a police officer.
I've said everything I'm going to say on the subject, except if I miss that plane, you take the consequences.
Have you told us, Mr. Munzer, how you hope to get to Singapore via Mexico?
He's an explorer, sir. He's working out a quick route.
Oh, very good, old boy, but there's nothing illegal about it.
No, nothing you do ever is, Captain. Certainly not obtaining money by deceit. That wouldn't enter your head, would it?
You're wasting my time, old boy.
Yes, I know, and you've wasted quite a lot of hours. Better charge him, Inspector. He's in a hurry.
Is this some sort of a bluff? You know that you have not one shred of evidence that I've ever obtained money by false pretenses?
Is that true, Inspector?
I'm afraid so, sir. At this stage, all we can charge him with is bigamy. Fortunately, we have one or two witnesses for that. Now, if there are one or two things you'd like the court to take into consideration, you would save us a great deal of trouble.
The only thing I want at this moment is to be the first person to break the sad news to a certain young lady.
It's unnecessary, old boy. She already knows.
It's a terrible thing, Inspector. A terrible way to learn a lesson. Poor Winifred. I can't tell you how distressed she was.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Holland, you were saying?
I was talking about the shock. Poor darling. I don't think she'll ever get over it.
Well, I suppose that'll teach her to listen to her mother. Ah, Miss Holland, I'd like you to sign for this.
Of course. Excuse me, Mummy, this is private.
Oh, yes.
Where do I sign?
Aren't you going to count it first?
I trust you, Inspector. I trust everybody.
Including N. Banerjee.
Who?
He told us that he'd sold those documents to a Mr. and Mrs. Munzer. I'm just wondering if he told you the same.
How could he, Inspector? You don't suppose I'd have married Bill knowing he was married already, do you?
Well, some such thought did enter my mind.
May I point out something, Mr. Gamble? You told me several times that you had not one shred of evidence against Captain Garland.
And now we have. Quite. I won't keep you, Miss Holland. Thank you. Oh, just a personal question. How many days was it? 4 or 5? Was it worth it?
I do have the letters, Inspector. I realize it's no guarantee.
But you are going to look for that out.
If I can persuade my mother to come with me, I could be lucky, you know.
If anybody will be, Miss Holland, it'll be you.